Hello, I'm really happy to be here. I feel like I will probably not have that many answers, but at least I would like to state some questions that I believe might be interesting for the debate about funding common goods. So first of all, I will be also sharing some things that are connected to my previous career. I don't know if you know that, but it's my second time in Taipei. And I was here for the first time in relation to animal protection work. This is an article from that time. We were working with cage-free eggs then, and working on the introduction of first cage-free eggs in Carrefour, Taipei. It is relevant to what I'll be speaking about. I was involved in animal protection work for many years. Nowadays, I'm both involved with Octant and Golem Foundation team, but I'm also running a crowdfunding platform that is actually one of the biggest crowdfunding platforms in the world, even though you probably haven't heard of it because it's solely Polish. It's just that crowdfunding is really big in Poland. When most people think about crowdfunding, they mostly think of Kickstarter. So it might be surprising for you that it's actually not the biggest crowdfunding platform in the world, because the biggest one is actually GoFundMe. And maybe this should already tell you something about what I want to say. People are actually GoFundMe. I don't know if you know this website, especially here, because it's mostly US based, now also growing in Europe. But GoFundMe is only about individual fundraisers for people who need help or for some personal projects. It's only donations based, no financial incentives for you to give. When in Kickstarter, you are mostly getting something out of supporting a project. In GoFundMe, you're just helping another person. And so it might be surprising, but actually GoFundMe grew faster and is now bigger than the Kickstarter, which I find extremely interesting in terms of motivating people and what actually makes people tick. I feel that what one of the most important things that people were crowdfunding in Poland in the last years was actually the war effort in Ukraine. So all those tiny, like Poland is relatively big in this region, but even those tiny countries like Estonia, Lithuania were collecting massive amounts of money to support Ukraine, trying to fund even military-grade equipment just because they wanted Ukraine to win this war so badly. And in all those countries in the region, you could see really huge increase of the amounts of money donated. And all those people, again, they were not getting anything in return. They just wanted to give money to increase the chances of Ukrainians to win the war. No tokens, no free t-shirts, nothing like that. So I think often when you want to incentivize people into giving, it might be good to actually start with the question, why people give? And in this traditional fundraising and crowdfunding that has like hundreds of years of history, like this original philanthropy, we kind of already know the answer to this question. First of all, giving makes people happy. So when we say that you cannot buy happiness, in a way it's not true. Because there is already research showing that if you give money out of your own will to projects that you support, you're getting much higher increase of happiness than if you got a rise in your job of the same amount. So we can actually buy and sell happiness, and it's through philanthropy. It's through giving to causes that we deeply care about. Which also means that if you are engaged in this, in any type of either public goods work or NGO or anything that benefits the society and the world, you are also in the business of selling happiness. And isn't that cool? And also, most of the people engaged in fundraising know that the main reason, if you want to speak with big donors, the main reason people actually give to causes they care about is that they want to be a part of the world that you create, and that's it. In most cases, they don't really. There's even an interesting. Like in Poland, we have a similar platform to Patreon. Patreon might be probably more interesting to you, more known to you than our platform, Patronite. But Patronite, that's based in Poland, works in exactly the same manner. And they found out that most people don't take the freebies that they get by donating more to various artists. So again, they just want to support artists. They want those artists to keep on creating, doing the good stuff. They are not there for the free stuff. And I thought that, as I said, it's not like I feel like I have a lot of answers on incentivizing people into giving to public goods, but I wanted to share some of the information I feel like I have through being more engaged in animal charities or crowdfunding. Because what I can see is that Web3 space is very big on incentives, on trying to, let's make DAOs cooler by giving out stuff. Let's do some airdrops. Let's give out some NFTs. And I think my first instinct is we should be extremely careful about this. So, for example, one thing that we were able to check and test on our own website. Again, this is like a huge crowdfunding platform with hundreds of new fundraisers starting daily. That for the benefit of our users, we actually need to remove this kind of Kickstarter option because when people were using it, they were less likely to collect the whole amount of money. It basically means that for example, if you're creating a fundraiser because you are sick, or like you need some surgery, or someone in your family needs one, you are more likely to collect the whole sum by just asking people for donations and not giving anything in return. And whenever people were adding those like freebies for donations, they were actually collecting less money. This might be very counterintuitive, but I think when you think deeper about this, there is something interesting there. So often, when NGOs try to attract donations, they also try to give something back. T-shirts are a good example of that. But if I persuaded you to support my NGO because you believe in the cause that we are working on, you are already willing to donate. If I tell you that I can accept the same amount of money and give you a T-shirt in return, I kind of turned you into like shopping mode, not like philanthropic mode, but shopping mode. Now you're thinking, do I need another T-shirt? Do I like this T-shirt? And apparently you're even less likely to give me your money because if you don't like the T-shirt, you're not giving the money. But you're also not giving the money without taking the T-shirt because you feel like a loser. Other people are getting the T-shirt for the same amount of money. Why should you give and not get anything in return? So what we saw on like hundreds of thousands of examples was that actual incentives made people less likely to donate, which is kind of crazy, but also maybe tell something actually good and interesting about humanity. I think two other questions that I would also consider again, thinking about financial incentives is, are you attracting the right crowd? And my intuition tells me, and this is also something that I based on actual conversations with people who seem like they're interested in such stuff as common goods, is that I think this space here actually has a very good, it might be a very good introduction to people who had nothing to do with Web3 before. And it has this potential of actually showing this kind of better side of Web3 for the world that mostly see it as like crypto bros and don't even want to touch it with a stick. So I feel that, and again, there is a lot of research. If you are interested in any of it, just please talk to me about it later on. But there is some research supporting this area, this idea that we should actually try to make people do things also for the right reason. There is this research, for example, connected to climate change, that if you get people to save energy by making them buy stuff, you might actually make them a bit more materialistic, and in the long run, you're actually not making them conserve energy whatsoever. So I just believe that there are some things here to be careful about and to think about more carefully. And maybe the good question is also, why do we always assume that incentives are best, that humans are strongly, that incentives are always the best way to move humans? So let's start with a question. Are you here? And I'm not speaking only about this event, but rather about this technological space, basically for the money. And if you are, please put your hand up. And of course, okay, there's one person there. And I know it might be hard to put your hand up here in this situation because people might judge you. I'm totally aware of that. Sorry, But I believe that the reason we believe that everybody else is motivated by money is that there is interesting research showing our biases in terms of the way we look at other people. And this research was here people were trying to evaluate what motivates people at work. And you know, we basically go to work to earn money. There's no doubt about it. That's like the main reason we're there. But still, whenever the researchers were asking individual persons what mostly motivates them in their work, they were giving such reasons as, you know, I want to grow, I want to receive some recognition, it's my passion, you know, I'm motivated by meaning. So they could see that it's not like that money didn't matter, it's that there was like lots of other reasons why people were working in a certain space, in certain position, or in certain company. We can definitely see this huge shift of people actually wanting to work in companies that have this positive impact in the world. So this is something that really matters to people. But whenever they asked employees, what do you think other people are motivated by? They actually mentioned money much more often than when they were thinking about this themselves. So apparently there is this inherent bias when we think that it's just, you know, we are angels. We're only here for the right reasons. But everybody else just wants the money. So my feeling is that the fact that we always assume that it's only money that will incentivize people to do things kind of comes from this clash between how much we understand ourselves and how much insight we have into the thoughts and, you know, dreams of other people. And, you know, apparently we are, as a humanity, we're generally much better than we think. I have to say that I also sometimes wonder if one of the problems that's already kind of visible in Web3 space is that there's already too much money here. And this is also something that I have observed in NGO space. The NGO that I started was focusing on farmed animals. Farmed animals are the animals that people mostly consume. They don't keep them at homes, which means that they are also not that likely to donate to help us save them in any way. There were no EU programs to support us. There were no government grants. We could only depend on individual donations of small donors. At the same time, at least in Poland, you could see that, for example, women's rights movement and LGBT movement had a lot of external support, either from Norway or from European Union or entities like this. The problem started when Poland started having a right-wing government. Then you could see that all those organizations that were dependent on big money from big foundations and international donors like European Union, because before that, they did not learn how to actually communicate very effectively with the public. And the right-wing government cut the funding to them. It was a disaster for some time. They had to learn how to communicate with people from scratch. And I kind of feel that when I look at the way the Web3 space communicates with outside public, it doesn't look as if this space actually wanted someone to understand. And for me, it almost looks like those NGOs that are getting too much funding. Like, you kind of depend on the grant money, on the donor money, so it makes NGOs really effective in communicating with the donors and have zero experience and almost zero attempts with communicating with regular people. And I think in the long run, it's actually harming the space. It's super important to really learn how to communicate with the public, how to communicate with the mainstream to be able to progress. So what motivates people to give? First of all, it's really emotions. And I think it's not so bad. We are formed both of reason and emotions, and there's nothing bad with acknowledging that emotions also play a role in what we do. We need to learn to tell compelling stories. We need to acknowledge that people actually want to be part of something bigger than themselves. And we have to do things that people actually care about, but also learn how to explain to them why they should care. We spent sometimes years or at least months thinking about why our project matters. We cannot assume that people will instantly just get it. We have to learn how to explain it better. And again, I wanted to give you some example from again, my previous work, because making people care about farmed animals isn't always easy. As I said, those are animals that people tend to eat. So they have all the reasons to not care about them, because caring about them is costly. So what activists actually noticed is that sometimes you can make people care by showing people other people who care about animals, kind of introducing almost like a human translator of emotions. And this is what influenced a lot of visual storytelling in this space. I'm not saying that this will be the answer to the Web3. I just wanted to give it as an example of creative thinking on how to make people move. And I strongly believe that incentives look easy and sometimes, every now and then, they might be a good answer to problems, but I also believe that there is much more interesting field of those human emotions and striving for purpose that this space haven't explored yet, and we should definitely do much more about this. Thank you. And this is my contact if you want to discuss more.